Today we'll be looking at a Herters 950 spinning reel from the 1970s, I believe. Back in the day, we used this reel when we were salmon fishing on Lake Michigan, and it was a solid performing reel for us back then. Right now, it was running a little rough, a little clunky, so I assumed that the grease inside had hardened over the last few decades, and indeed it was. The grease inside was as hard as clay. So I began by removing the spool, the handle, and the side plates, and you can see that the interior is a relatively simple design. There aren't a lot of moving parts. And I've got the video sped up so that it doesn't take too long. So, in taking apart these reels, you just have to be mindful of any small washers, thin washers, or small parts. You don't want to lose anything, and it's wise to keep a tray handy just to put everything in. This reel was a relatively simple um, disassembly, and there weren't a lot of moving parts, so I just kept them on the paper towel. So once I got everything taken apart, I cleaned everything with WD-40, cotton swabs, paper towel, a little soap and water, and then I dried everything off and laid it all back out onto the paper towel for reassembly. It's a good idea to take photos or a video when you disassemble a reel and lay things out so that if you do get lost when you're reassembling it, you can kind of check back on the video or the photos to see where things go. I've had a couple moments early on when I was cleaning reels where I couldn't figure out for the life of me where or how a certain part fit into the reel. But I've learned a lot from Second Chance Tackle and Young Martin's Reels, those two YouTube channels on the maintenance of fishing reels. And I would recommend that anybody who is interested in working on reels check out those two YouTube channels. So I've begun to reassemble the fishing reel here, and what I've done is I have oiled any non-gear related parts, moving parts like the axle. I'll oil that. Any levers or springs, anything like that, I'll put oil on, fishing reel oil. And for any gear related uh, parts like the pinion gear or the pivot gear, and even the oscillation guide itself, I'll put a little Penn fishing reel grease in there with a paintbrush. Any washers, be they metal, plastic, or fiber, I will lightly oil those before replacing them. You really have to be mindful of these small parts like small screws, clips, or springs when you're removing them or replacing them. if you have clumsy fingers like I do, it's easy to drop or uh, have a spring fly out of your fingertips. That happened once on this reel. I dropped a screw and had to spend a few minutes looking on the floor for it. Fortunately, I found it. So this isn't a step-by-step how-to video of how to take apart, re-oil and re-grease and reassemble a fishing reel. I just thought it might be fun for viewers to follow along and get a quick peek at what I did to maintain this reel and get it back into smooth running shape. So once I got all the interior moving pieces oiled and greased and put back together, I put the side plates back on, screwed the handle back on, uh, reinstalled the spool and the drag knob on top, and gave it a whirl. After re-greasing and oiling and reassembling the reel, it ran so much better than it did prior to cleaning. Right now, I'm doing some research for an article for Bass Fishing Archives on the Herters company, and I remembered that I had this old reel out in my fishing shed in a box somewhere. So I dug it up and gave it a few turns and decided to clean it up. And so now it runs beautifully. It's still a little cumbersome. It's a little clunky for a reel by modern standards, but it is a very smooth running, workable reel right now. So I hope you enjoyed this little peek at the cleaning and maintenance of a vintage spinning reel. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.